Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in today in our discussion. And joining us is Ulfa Halida. She's a clinical psychologist from Indonesia, and we're going to discuss in the video about the suicide trends in India and Indonesia, the progression that's there, the major causes that happen, and the resources that are available in both our countries of India and Indonesia.
Hi, Perfi. Hello, everyone. I'm Ulfa, clinical psychologist from Indonesia. I hope today's discussion make all of us at least learn a few new things about societal issues by looking back through the data and a bit of knowledge we have about it.
Yes, for sure. And I'm really grateful that you are here joining us today because as we've been discussing, I see that, even though in India the data has increased now, there's much more data than before, but still, there's not enough talks or discussion around how we as a community can come together to help.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Uh, yeah, I see about that. And as I researched, there is a very limited data here in Indonesia available regarding suicide in here in Indonesia.
After the pandemic, the data has increased a lot. The way that people are using the data has increased a lot. Yeah, and the major age group that is, affected by it globally and in India is between 15 to 29-year-olds, which is most of our like students and young adults population.
Okay, which one is how about the gender ratio?
Yeah, so in gender, it's seen that, it's more common in males than in females. Right. Yeah, and after the pandemic, there's been 40% of the suicide among young adults has been seen among daily wage earners and housewives due to the economic crisis also that has come up after the pandemic.
Right. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, there is about 31.7% suicide rate increase since 2022, and before the latest reported data is in 2019. I'm a little bit sad for looking this data available on online. I mean, like, oh, maybe there is more of case that underreported. And then as I tried to get more information about the statistic, I found a research which worked with non-public data for suicide case, and the finding was surprising. I see that they found that the suicide rate is 4 times higher than data reported. It means that the data is not enough much with the real case, and the gender ratio is 1 to 3 for female to male suicides. And for the age rate, we have a different kind age rate. Maybe there is a peak in the curve prior to 46 to 50, and the rate increased dramatically in the 66 to 70 age group.
Mm. That is actually, I mean, a little sad to also see that, that
Yeah,
it's almost like all age groups around are being affected a lot by that.
yeah, especially the older one here in Indonesia. I don't know why.
Mhm. Yeah, because I see in the cases that I've taken, right? It's always seen like, most of the time, the major cause is when their problems are minimized or dismissed a lot by people around. They don't
Mhm.
get someone when the loved ones or people around them are not um, able to empathetically listen or understand problems that, they're experiencing or from where they come from. And among students, it seems it's because a lot of the competitiveness that's there, in academics and college, and also how the worth of the individual is greatly reduced to the scores that they get, and
Mhm.
putting a lot of their aspirations or their future on the marks, which becomes a huge stressor for them. So, And while there are a lot of resources, a lot of work that's being done by the government as well globally, like in India, for the students and for the population. I think it's also coming from a place where we as a community need to be more empathetic and I think receptive of others, of listening to others, even if we don't resonate with that. Another cause that I see is that when individuals share their concern with their caregivers, with the community is very quick to give solutions or very action-based uh, hoping to the individuals in a way where you can do this or you should try this. Whereas what I've seen a lot is that at that time individuals mostly want someone to be present with them, just to be with them while they kind of figure things out, or there is um even if they're doing something themselves for the concern, just having somebody with them or finding a way along with the other person. Like they want the presence or like an active participation in the community rather than a very passive or looking from it from the outside kind of feeling. I think that is something that uh, doesn't work really well at that time. So that again is one of the causes that I feel.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Sure. What about bullying case in there in India?
Yes, definitely bullying is also prevalent here among students in colleges. We do hear news around that as well. And that can greatly, even something that I've seen in my work, right, in my practice, that greatly affects the mental health of individuals and really uh, affects their self-image and worth a lot, which can then slowly, if not given enough, if they're not given enough attention and care, that can increase, intensify their mental health concerns much more and can lead to them feeling suicidal as well.
Okay. I also I also seen that most of students died by suicide because this bullying. And then if we talk about different age group, for the elder age group, loneliness, like you said before, feeling helpless, and then stressor from the early days that being dismissed or not given any hit are the most cause of suicide attempts for adults.
Yes, definitely, because like you said, right, loneliness, helplessness is very common feeling among individuals who are distressed or going through a mental health concern or any crisis as it is in their life, right? And that sometimes can, when they're having, suicidality in general, how I've seen that in practice also is where it translates to them wanting some peace, some rest, a pause from, all the turmoil going on in their own self. So it's often just
Okay.
wanting to have a safe space for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, because also when people are experiencing suicidality or when they're having mental health concerns, most of them start fearing their thoughts a lot. They become very fearful of their own thoughts and feelings. So they don't feel very safe within themselves, which is why the need for community, the need for, us at least being receptive to listening and being there becomes important.
Okay, yeah. As I know that even all of us, have our struggle things, and I want to ask you something. Maybe it's to, I don't know, personal, I don't know, but I want to ask you this question. Have you ever felt suicidal?
Well, that is actually an interesting question because I think I've definitely thought about death and about dying. And I think that's very
Ah,
common among us, right? When we're going through something, it's a huge crisis, right? A huge stressor. We sometimes always feel, what if, I was just not here on the face of the earth? Or, what if just wanting to vanish? I think that it, I've definitely thought about death and about, me not existing sometimes. But also, while it's a common thought that we all have, suicidality becomes serious and a concern when these thoughts become much more frequent and
mhm.
much more intense. That is when I think it becomes a concern as well, where if it's a
Okay.
perpetual thought that people are having, a perpetual feeling that people are experiencing.
Mhm. All right. So I also look at what and how individuals could be supported and society could be prevented. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think it can, while we can't prevent all suicides that happen, right? But most of the time, yes, it can be prevented by both definitely needing an immediate intervention where people can reach out to helplines, to hotlines, right? And then even after that call, reaching out to your close ones, being in a community rather than being by themselves at that time is something that is needed. And also, once the crisis is averted, the need for a long-term intervention in terms of therapy, in terms of seeking support for their mental health, maybe if not therapy, in terms of support group, I think
Mhm.
is a great resource now that's available to people more than before as well. And yes, because I think that's what suicidality is something that grows over a long time, right? It's not
Yeah.
an all of a sudden uh, incident. While the attempt or the deed of taking one's life can be out on the urge at that time, but for the individual to reach that point, I think it's a very strugglesome journey that individual experiences, right? And to work through that, the fear that they feel from their experiences and the struggles that they are going through, I think that through therapy, once they work through that, once they can kind of come out of that slowly, is when you can, in the long term, prevent suicide.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about it?
I agree about that. I mean, like, the point is the first thing to do is being aware of our own self. And then once we feel like we are not okay or there's something wrong with us, we can seek help. That I see that people nowadays quite hard to find helps to want to have someone to help them. But maybe also we can talk about a self-care that we can do to ourselves. What do you do for your self-care when you're feeling when you feeling you're not okay?
I think at that time, faith also comes to be a huge part where faith and then the hope, right? Which again, sometimes it's very difficult to find or believe in that hope or have trust when you're going through something. But again, therapy is a space where you can feel safe enough, where you can work through those, mm, thoughts, create that hope for yourself. And definitely the strength of community and your family, your loved ones around yourself. I think having a safe space, having a group, very a tight knit group where you can express what you're going through, what you're feeling, right? I think for me
Okay,
that works a lot as well, personally.
good. Uh-huh. Maybe another one can do it also, so they can help themselves at the first place. Okay, and then probably I have another questions that is also personal. Do you have any relative or friends that died by suicide?
While I don't have anyone in my close family or friend circle who has died by suicide, but I do uh, come across individuals in my practice, right, who've lost individuals to suicide. And that is also something that I would want us to discuss here because I've seen is right when even the loved ones, the caregivers who are left behind when somebody dies by suicide, it can greatly affect them as well. It's a huge loss that somebody experiences and brings about a lot of things for someone. And and even seeking help for themselves at the time can bring a lot of feelings and thoughts, from within, from people around. But I would also encourage people through the video that if you have lost someone and you are experiencing, it's a heavy time for you. And so please don't hesitate and do reach out for support, for professional help for yourself as well. And what self-care or how were you there for yourself at that time?
Oh, what kind of self-care? Do you ask about that? Self-care, yeah. I do some art things that I love to do.
Yes, definitely. I've seen that as well, right? Art is something that really helps people to express what's going on inside them. And like you said, it's a process that's going to be there with you throughout your life, probably, right? Something that you're going to feel about your life. But again, like you said, slowly, part by part, heal very slowly. Right?
Yeah, and I want to say something to people who have suicidal thoughts. If you ever feel like you want to do it, please think twice. I know this life is cruel to all of us, but when you are not here, people will also dying inside when you do it. So please keep going.
Yeah.
That's all, Purvi.
Yes, and while you say that, I would also like to add, right, that yes, that is a very sometimes we feel that when people die by suicide, it's something that um we all regret that could have been prevented, or we all think about um were they strong enough or weak to have committed or to have attempted suicide. But again,
Mhm.
it's their journey, it's their experiences that they've had, and again, um the only resort they knew to kind of end their suffering or find a because like I said previously as well, right, that most of the time the attempt to suicide and wanting to suicide is because the pain becomes so unbearable for someone. It becomes so unsafe to the feeling of being with their own self is so feels unsafe or uncomfortable that they want to kind of put a pause or rest to that suffering.
All right.
Yeah, and again, like we said, there are resources, much more resources available now. Globally, it's increasing. In Indonesia, if there's someone, I do urge you to reach out to Ulfa, to the helplines there. I'm going to add that in the description. And to individuals in India and otherwise as well, right? If you need help, if you want to talk to someone, right, I will be linking resources in the description that you can go through. You can reach out to me or Ulfa anytime. I'll have our contacts in the description as well. And if you have any doubts, if you want to share anything, the comments section is always open for you, and we're always there to connect with you and listen to what you have to say. So with that, we definitely come towards the end of this video. I think we both might have a lot more to add and a lot more to share, but I think that goes beyond the scope of this video. But it was really nice connecting with you, Alpha, and having this conversation with you. And I have learned a lot from you from this conversation.
Thank you for inviting me here.
Yeah. Yes. And I definitely hope to hold a lot more conversations with you over the time.
Sure.
Thank you for your time, Alpha. It was great
Uh,
talking to you.
See you, everyone. Have a good day.